on the significance of the ruling, let me turn to Michael Becker. He's an assistant professor of international human rights law at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. He's also a former legal officer at the International Court of Justice. Michael, you are the perfect person for us to be talking to. Basically, the court acknowledged the possibility of genocide in Gaza, but it fell short of demanding a complete ceasefire. Are you surprised by that?
I wasn't surprised by that at all. I think from the get-go, people familiar with the workings of the ICJ and really the limits of its jurisdiction under the Genocide Convention saw that request from South Africa as something that was going to be probably beyond what the court was willing to order. So I wasn't surprised at all to see the court not do that, but I really don't think that the significance of the decision today should be judged or evaluated on the basis of that decision about ceasefire or no ceasefire.
So how should we be judging it?
I think what was really significant about the decision today for me was the court's very strong emphasis on highlighting the scale of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and really making the case that this is a situation that cannot be allowed to further deteriorate. On top of that, and this is really important, and this goes to what you were saying, the court's determination that the test to even indicate provisional measures, to give this order, required South Africa to have shown that its case, its claims under the Genocide Convention are at least plausible. That's a relatively low standard, but the court found that South Africa met that standard. And part of how they did so was through that evidence of problematic statements by high-ranking Israeli officials that point to this idea that the evidence on the ground of humanitarian catastrophe is backed up by statements that at least are suggestive of genocidal intent.
The court also said Israel must submit a report in 1 month outlining how it plans to implement the court's orders. Israel's defense minister, Michael, was quick to dismiss today's ruling. He said the state of Israel does not need to be lectured on morality to distinguish between terrorists and the civilian population in Gaza. So I guess my question to you is any of this going to really make a substantial difference when it comes to the catastrophe we're seeing on the ground in Gaza?
Well, I think it's really significant that not only did the court order Israel to essentially abide by its obligations under the Genocide Convention, which of course Israel says it's doing, but that was paired with this obligation to ensure the effective delivery of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. And so for Israel to be able to do that, that's probably going to require a significant scaling down of the military operations. It's no surprise at all that Israel's immediate reaction has been to reject the court's decision. But that doesn't mean that behind the scenes, Israel isn't thinking about, do we need to moderate our behavior in some way in response to what the court has said today? So I think the order can still have a kind of restraining effect on Israeli decision-making about the conflict going forward.
So on the specific accusations that South Africa leveled against Israel with genocide in Gaza, where does that case go from here? Are we talking about years? And at that point, is that still a legal victory for South Africa?
Well, the court was never going to make a determination today about whether genocide has taken place or whether South Africa's claims on the merits will succeed. That, in any case, that would have taken years, and it will take years. The case will go forward. Both sides will have the opportunity now to put forward much more fully developed legal arguments, put forward lots more evidence. And it's also at that stage of the case where Israel, and I think this is part of the value of the case, even if South Africa's claims about genocide aren't successful at the end of the day, because the test to demonstrate genocidal intent is so demanding, even if those claims don't succeed, the process itself is going to require Israel to explain and defend a lot of its conduct in this conflict and to defend the way it's carried out its war against Hamas. And so there's going to be value there. So I think talking about it as a victory or not a victory obscures some of the complexities about why this case and the legal process itself can have benefits.
And regardless of what happens down the road, Michael, how much of a moral or diplomatic win, if you will, is this for South Africa?
I think it's very significant. This puts additional pressure on Israel to, again, moderate its conduct in certain ways. It can embolden parts of Israeli society who may want to see their own government change course. And it's going to cause governments, other governments, including governments that are strongly supportive of Israel at a general level, to have to reevaluate in some ways the way that their relations with Israel are carried out, and in particular, those countries that supply military equipment to Israel are going to have to maybe pause and think about this and have some concern that are we later in time going to be found somehow complicit in what the court has said at least is a plausible case that should be heard about allegations under the Genocide Convention.
All right, we'll leave it there. Michael Becker, thank you very much.